On a winter morning, under a low, grey sky, the stinging air seemed to bite the skin of anyone who dared venture outside. But an old man, Alain Dume, did not seem to be bothered by the cold. He walked slowly through the deserted streets, supported by a carved wooden cane, a modest but elegant accessory, just like his old but carefully maintained coat. His face was marked by the years, the wrinkles of life mingling with a wisdom acquired over time. His dark skin, rich with the history of a busy existence, bore the marks of a past of effort, sacrifice, and dignity. Alain was no longer young, but his eyes still shone with a special glow, a calm and deep glow, as if each look carried the memory of past struggles and silent victories. He didn't need to brag about what he had accomplished. His gaze was enough to reflect the tranquility of a man who knew who he was and where he came from. That morning, he had come downtown for one simple reason: to buy a car. The large glass door of the dealership opened with a faint sound of bells. The interior of the showroom was a stark contrast to the cold exterior. The walls were immaculate, the lights brilliant, and the cars, superb modern models, seemed almost unattainable, frozen in a pose of perfection. The powerful sedans, the glittering coupes, the latest sports cars, all were displayed like works of art. Some cost more than most people could hope to accumulate in a lifetime. Alain stopped in front of a black car, sober and elegant.
A Mercedes S-Class.
The model was everything he had imagined: elegant, quiet, but powerful. He looked at it for a long time, as if he wanted to lose himself in the beauty of this simple object. She was both a status symbol and a reflection of her own journey. He waited. The minutes passed slowly, but no one showed up. He could hear the muffled sound of distant conversations, of salesmen laughing and joking among themselves. Alain, still standing in front of the car, seemed almost invisible. The sellers walked past him without a word, without a glance. One of them, a tight-jawed man in a perfectly tailored suit, looked at him briefly with disdain, before looking away without even slowing down. A younger saleswoman even allowed herself a little laugh when she passed him, whispering to her colleague in a mocking tone. "He's probably a former driver," she whispered in a low voice, loud enough for Alain to hear. "But he doesn't react. He just stared at the car, as if this object of desire was all he had at his disposal, and he didn't need the approval of others to appreciate its beauty." Minutes passed, but nothing changed. Little by little, he felt more and more invisible, but he didn't move. Other younger, more polished, more modern customers walked past him, and each time, a salesman rushed to greet them with a smile. But Alain remained there, his gaze lost in the silent elegance of the car, a discreet smile on his lips. He was in no hurry. He knew that time would eventually give him what he was looking for. After 20 long minutes, he decided to move forward. Slowly, he walked towards the counter where the salesman, still focused on his phone, barely looked up when Alain stopped in front of him. "Hello," said Alain, in a calm but clear voice. "I would like to inquire about this model, the black S-Class." The salesman, without even looking up from his phone, said in a dry, almost casual tone, "Prices are displayed. We don't do long-term rentals in retirement, sir. You should see Renault." The disdain in the salesman's voice, although subtle, did not escape Alain. He looked at him for a moment, but no words came out of his mouth. No anger. Not even a sigh. He nodded slowly, as if he had anticipated this kind of reaction all along. Then he turned on his heel without a sound and walked away, leaving the showroom in absolute silence, while the laughter of the salesman seemed to intensify, like an echo in a vast deserted hall. What the staff didn't know was that Alain Dume was not just an old man. He wasn't what they thought. Born in Cameroon, Alain arrived in France in the 1970s, at the age of 22. He then had no money, no support, no contacts. Only his will to succeed and a keen business sense. He had started his life in France as a sweeper in a small local grocery store, barely earning enough to live on. But he already knew that luck favored those who worked hard and did not let themselves be crushed by prejudice. He slowly climbed the ranks, buying one grocery store after another, opening stores, then distribution chains. Over the years, his reputation grew. His network became one of the most respected in the south of France. Alain was not a rich man from birth, but he was able to build his fortune stone by stone, on the basis of honesty, hard work, and a clear vision. When, a few months ago, he sold his business for more than 70 million euros, he did it discreetly, without fanfare. His success never needed to shine in the eyes of others. But that morning, he had not come as a rich man. He just wanted to buy a car.
A Mercedes.
Not for the pageantry, but for the personal meaning it held, a discreet reward for a life dedicated to work, perseverance, and discretion. It wasn't money that drove him into this dealership. It was the symbolism of this moment. A silent declaration to himself. A little luxury for a big life. But what happened next would turn this simple purchase into something unexpected. An act of justice in a world that didn't seem to value lives like his. A month after the incident which marked Alain Dumas' entry into the car dealership, the employees of the establishment received an announcement which would turn their daily lives upside down. An exceptional meeting was called for an important announcement. At first, no one really knew what it was about, but everyone was a little nervous. When the meeting began, astonishment quickly set in. The man they had ignored, this Alain Dumas who had come to be interested in a car a few weeks earlier, was back. But this time he was not alone. Next to him were two lawyers, a notary, and a representative of one of the largest automobile groups in the country. The dealership manager, a man with a generally implacable face, turned pale when he saw Alain. The first seconds of the meeting were marked by deafening silence, and a sense of imminence hung in the air, like a storm ready to burst. "I am now the owner of this establishment." Alain's voice, calm and firm, resonated in the room, instantly capturing everyone's attention. The director, still in shock, could not contain his surprise. "What?" the sales manager said, incredulously, as if he had just heard a bad dream come true. Alain turned slightly towards him, looking calm but determined. "I bought the business. The deed is signed. And there are changes coming." A deep silence settled. The employees looked at each other, visibly disconcerted, unable to grasp the significance of what they were hearing. But the look of their new employer left no doubt. He was not there to negotiate, nor to discuss. He had a very specific vision of what he was going to do. Alain took a slow breath, his gaze scanning the room with quiet assurance. "I came here as a customer. You judged me by my appearance. Ignored. Despised. It didn't hurt me. I saw others. But what you revealed that day was the culture of this house. The arrogance, the contempt for those you believe to be poor, the obsession with appearances." His words hit like powerful waves. He paused, his gaze calculatingly scanning every face in the room. Those who witnessed this moment understood that this meeting was not simply a formality. It carried with it a profound change, something larger than a simple business matter. Alain was not just a businessman. He embodied a silent revolution. "You are all fired. With compensation, of course.
I am not a cruel man.
But I will no longer tolerate this place running on discrimination and condescension." There were no immediate cries or protests, but the murmur that rose quickly after his words conveyed deep shock. Some tried to plead, others to apologize, but the decision was irrevocable. Alain had acted with the coldness of a man sure of his cause and his power. The following weeks were marked by a radical transformation of the dealership. Alain did not just buy a company. He reinvented a place of commerce, a space where human dignity was the priority. He hired an entirely new team, coming from diverse and varied backgrounds. Formerly unemployed, young graduates, single women, invisible workers, people of all origins and all social situations. He did not distinguish between people. For him, everyone deserved a chance. The walls of the concession were transformed. At the entrance, a large metal plaque engraved with a simple but powerful inscription was installed. "Here we welcome you as if you were king, no matter what you look like." Customers began to flock in, curious about this radical change. Alain, despite his position, refused the titles of CEO or boss. Every morning, he would pass by the dealership, settle into a chair near the entrance, and greet each customer with a warm smile and a firm handshake. For him, respect could not be commanded. He gave himself. And every customer who walked through the door felt truly welcomed, not as a wallet to be exploited, but as a respected individual. One day, a young woman entered the showroom, visibly intimidated. She was looking at a small, second-hand city car, clearly hesitant. She didn't dare approach a seller. But one of them, a young man recently hired, approached her with a kind smile. "You are at home here.
Take your time."
She looked up, surprised, but a feeling of relief invaded her face. It was a dignified welcome, without judgment. Alan, who was discreetly observing the scene, felt satisfied. His revenge, if it could be called that, had not been noisy. She had been right. It had brought a new dignity, not only to the customers, but to everyone who entered this place. Months later, the former director of the dealership, who had become unemployed, met Alan in the street. He tried to pass by without noticing it, but Alan stopped short in front of him. There was no hatred in his eyes, just an almost soothing form of calm. "You know," said Alan with a slight smile, "I don't blame you. You gave me a unique opportunity to transform a place of contempt into a place of dignity, and that is priceless." Then, without another word, Alan turned away and continued on his way. The former director stood there, petrified, unable to respond. He stood on the pavement, speechless, while Alan disappeared into the street, leaving behind not only a man without a response, but also a slightly better world. It was the wise man's revenge, the one that transforms a toxic environment into a place of respect, a silent but essential revolution.